Hello there, everyone. Um, I'm back with another CD album review. And let me try to adjust this. Getting a lot of. There we go. Now you can see my old mug a little bit better. Um, this is an album I've been excited about since it was announced. Um, I'm sorry about the circumstances for which it came out. It's a tribute album that Steve Earle came out with for for his son Justin Towns Earle. It's called JT, and it's with Steve Earle's longtime band, the Dukes. And there's Steve wearing a whoops, Justin Towns Earle shirt, and nothing really in the gatefold, just credits. Um, you know, Justin Towns Earle passed away in the fall of last year of 2020 due to an overdose. And his father, Steve, who's an Americana folk rock legend, Steve Earle. Justin obviously got his chops from his dad, as well as studying, songwriting icons like Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark. And of course, he was named after Townes Van Zandt by his father, Steve. And really went down that road that those songwriters went down, where his songs were real, they were hard, they related to his real life problems, his addictions, his infidelity, drinking, whatever it might be. Um, Justin Towns Earle sang his songs as truth because they were to him, as does his dad. His dad had his own addictions, Steve, but seems to have overcome them and just keeps putting out great work. And Steve Earle, he's no stranger to tribute albums. He's done an album to Townes Van Zandt where he sang all Townes Van Zandt songs. He's done an album for Guy Clark where he sang all Guy Clark songs. And now he gets to honor his son with this album, JT, where he sings all Justin Towns Earle songs, minus the last song, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, that Steve wrote as a tribute to his son, Justin. Um, I'll give you the track list. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Justin Towns Earle, or Steve Earle for that matter. Steve Earle, he's not necessarily a hit maker. He had a couple of hits. Copperhead Road, Guitar Town were two songs that you hear a lot on Outlaw Radio. The opening song, I Don't Care, that was Justin Towns Earle's finger picking and lyrical tribute to Woody Guthrie. And I believe he wrote it after reading Woody Guthrie's book, and it stuck with him. And that was an early song for Justin. Ain't Glad I'm Leaving, Maria, Far Away in Another Town, They Killed John Henry. I know Justin Towns Earle always wanted to do a John Henry song. John Henry, of course, the legend, mythical figure who worked on the railroad post Civil War and beat the machine that was putting down the railroads and taking jobs away from men. And of course, he died with his hammer in his hand after beating the machine. He died from overwork. Turn Out My Lights, Lone Pine Hill, Champagne Corolla, which is just a nice little, it's got a nice little jilt to it. The Saint of Lost Causes, which was from the title track of Justin Towns Earle's final studio album. Harlem River Blues, which I guess you could call Justin Towns Earle's sing-along hit. That was the one that people who knew Justin Towns Earle just faintly, that's probably the song that they would know. And then the last song is called Last Words. Now, let me show you. There's not really any pictures in the booklet that they give you. All the lyrics are there, and kind of midway through the book, you have this really sad, but also very happy picture. That's Justin laying across his dad's lap when he's probably about 18 or 19, and they're both just laughing together. They had a strained relationship. Justin went off and moved in with his mom. I think Steve was going through a divorce at the time that they had Justin, but it kind of took him back that he was now a father and kind of had to grow up himself. And Justin, when he died, he had a wife and daughter as well. And actually, all the proceeds to this album go to a fund for his wife and his daughter. His daughter's very young, I think just 2 or 3. And so her grandfather, Steve, wanted a college fund set up essentially. And this album, the proceeds are going to go toward that. But in this part of the booklet, there's a nice 2-page, well, page and a half tribute that Steve wrote to his son. And something that sticks out, kind of the last part of his tribute is he said, "This record is called JT because he was never called anything else until he was nearly grown. Well, when he was little, I called him Cowboy." And he capitalizes Cowboy. "For better or worse, right or wrong, I loved Justin Townes Earle more than anything else on this earth. That being said, I made this record like every other record I've ever made. For me, it was the only way I knew how to say goodbye. See you when I get there, Cowboy, Dad." And, reading that and knowing the relationship that they had and that he still loved him, that's everything. And I know I've seen Steve, I think he performed on The Tonight Show or The Late Show, and he did Harlem River Blues, and he finished it, and he looked at the camera and said, "I'll see you when I get there, Cowboy." And, that's just, it's killer to see that being, your father outliving you. But like I said, Justin Townes Earle lived fast. His dad lived fast too, but he got out of the situation. What is neat about that last song, and again, it's called Last Words. Apparently, Steve and Justin talked on the phone the last night that Justin was alive. It was just hours before he died. And the lyric of the song is, Steve says, "Your last words to me, my last words to you were I love you. Your last words to me were I love you too." And, hearing that, and you can kind of hear Steve's, gruff voice. He was a hard father to live with his drinking and, smoking, drugs, whatever he was doing. But to hear that song so poignant and, just so, it's truthful. It's very raw. And, it's one of those things they always say, a parent isn't supposed to outlive their child, and you can really hear that sentiment coming through with this song, and it fits right in with the rest of the songs. So it's not egotistical to have his own original on an album to his son. It's about his son, and it's about their relationship together, which again was strained, but from what I understand, the last few years they made amends. They'd performed on stage together a few different times throughout their careers. So I recommend getting this album. It's at its core, it's just a good outlaw country album, if you want to call it that. It's not really country, but again, you would hear it on the outlaw country station on Sirius XM. So if you like Steve Earle, check it out. If you just like old songwriters, Townes Van Zandt, Guy Clark, John Prine, it fits in with any of that stuff. Check it out. I know my friend Glenn up in Canada is waiting for his copy. I hope you get it soon. It's definitely a mood album. But again, Steve makes the songs his while keeping them pretty true to Justin, and you couldn't have done a better tribute as a father to your son. So check it out, JT by Steve Earle and the Dukes, and I will talk to you all very soon.